Hello. It is Wednesday, my dudes. Actually, by the time you guys watch this video, it's going to be Thursday. I just felt like saying that. But Thursday, April 23rd, we are almost done with yet another week. And we are talking about chapter 18, section 1, the later Middle Ages, talking about popes and kings. And yesterday, I talked a little bit about Charlemagne, how he was crowned king of the Romans, the leader of the Holy Roman Empire. And the Holy Roman Empire was what's now Germany and Italy and parts of some other countries in there, Austria, other countries, not Australia, Austria. And we talked about England, another big superpower at the time, and France, another big superpower at the time. And the kings of these countries were sometimes at odds against the Pope, who led the Christian church and was the real, kind of the real solid rock of Europe at the time, because there were so many other political changes and upheavals that going on. There were a lot of issues that it was really important to have some stability, and that's what the Catholic Church gave to Europe at that time period. Well, it wasn't just Catholic Church, it was just the Christian church. But that's going to change, because at this time period, when Charlemagne became king of the Romans, emperor of the Romans, and he was crowned on December 25th in the year 800 by the Pope, who put the crown on Charlemagne's head. There was only one church. It was the Christian church, the universal Christian church, the universal Catholic church, Catholic with a small c, not the Catholic Church of today, but the word Catholic means universal. So everybody who was Christian at that time was Catholic. However, when Charlemagne was crowned king of the Romans in the Holy Roman Empire, this did not sit very well with the Romans. The Roman Empire had fallen, if you recall, but the Roman Empire was still around in Constantinople. We talked about that before. So because of that, they were the Romans, and they heard of this guy, this barbarian guy Frank, who helped destroy the Roman Empire. Now he's the emperor of the Romans over there in the West, in what's now Germany, and the Roman Empire is still alive and well in Constantinople. This did not go over well with the East. So the people of Constantinople, the Byzantines, did not like this whole situation. And so there became some friction between the Bishop of Constantinople and the Bishop of Rome, the Pope. And so there became this little bit of controversy, and it stewed and brewed for about 200 years. And around the year 1000, in that time, there was a schism in the 1000s. And it's 1049, I think, was the actual year that this took place. 1054 is when it really got out of hand. It started to become an issue, and there were some back and forth issues. Who's really in control? And so the Pope, the Bishop of Rome, had his own ideas about how the church should run and to deal with the West. The Bishop of Constantinople had his own ideas of how things should be run based on the way that they did it in the East. And there were some issues between the two sides, the East side versus West side, was what we have going on. And so this became more and more of an issue. And so at one point, you end up having this, and this goes way back to the old split between the Eastern and Western Roman Empire. Remember that, with Constantine splitting off the Eastern Roman Empire from the West? So this goes way back. And what happens is you have the situation where Leo, who became the Pope in Rome, he was the Pope in Rome, ended up excommunicating. Remember that word again. Excommunication is that's the big one. That's the nuclear option. That's not only kicking somebody out of the church, but it's kicking somebody out of society, kicking somebody out of their chance of heaven. It's casting them into a situation where they're not going to be able to go to heaven at all. And when they die, there's only one other place to go. So this was a problem. Leo excommunicated the Bishop of Constantinople. And when that happened, the church in Constantinople, the Roman church there, said, fine, you're dead to us. We don't want anything more to do to you. And there became what's called a schism. The word scissors, right? SCI. Schism is a split in the church. And so now you have the Western church, which became the Roman church, Roman Catholic Church. And then you have the Eastern Church, which became eventually known as the Eastern Orthodox Church, headquartered in Constantinople. So now there isn't just one big happy Christian family. Now we have two different distinct groups, and that's going to become we're going to get a whole lot more groups here in a little while when we get to the Reformation, when the church really splits up. But this was a big deal. This was a really big deal. This great schism was a really big deal. And so now we have the Pope in Rome, Pope, Latin for father, popa, right? And then we have patriarch, Greek, pater, Greek for father. So literally both words, they both mean father, Pope and patriarch. So the patriarch is the head of the Eastern Orthodox Church in Constantinople. So now you have this situation where we know what's going on with the church. What about the kings? Okay, let's not forget about those guys. They're also going to try to have some disagreements here and there and try to get their power. And there became a power clash between Pope Gregory VII and this Emperor Henry IV of the Holy Roman Empire. A little bit of a disagreement between who's in charge, who can select the bishops, the leaders of the smaller leaders, not the Pope. The Pope's the leader of the entire Christian world, but the leaders of individual countries or individual areas. These bishops, who should choose them? Should it be the king, because they're in his country, right? Or should it be the Pope? Like, for example, in the Christian church here in the United States, should Donald Trump choose who the Bishop of Toledo is, or the Bishop of Cincinnati? Or should the Pope or somebody else have that control? Well, that's a good, fair question, right? Now it's a piece of cake. It's a no-brainer. Trump should have nothing to do with that. It's a church thing. He's a political figure. He has nothing to do with that. It's the Pope's decision. It's a no-brainer for us. Back then, it wasn't so clear. There was a lot of they weren't sure how the separation between church and state really wasn't there, and so it was a lot of gray area to deal with. And so the argument became heated, and eventually the Pope said, "Henry, you better knock it off or you're going to be in big trouble." And Henry kept on complaining about it, arguing about it, and finally the Pope said, "Henry, you are excommunicated." And this was a big deal because now the Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire is now cast out from the church, cast out from society. He's not going to get to go to heaven. This is a major problem. That means he's going to lose his throne, because why would the people of the Holy Roman Empire wanted to have their emperor as somebody who's been excommunicated, somebody who's cast out of the church? No. So Henry knew this is the end of his reign as emperor if he didn't start making some peace with the Pope. So the story is he went to the Pope, and the Pope would not see him and said, "You're dead to me. I don't even know who you are, right? Anymore. You're out of the church." And Henry said, he pleaded and said, "I'm going to stand out here in the snow, barefoot, for 3 days if I have to." And that's how long it took. 3 days. He stood out barefoot in the snow, according to the story. I don't know. Whatever. We'll go with it, right? And eventually the Pope Gregory said, "Okay, fine, Henry, you can come back, but the only way I can let you back in the church is that you agree that I, the Pope, will get to choose who the bishops are, not you." And so that's where it stayed. The bishops were chosen by the Pope. It became a religious thing, and the king couldn't do anything about that. So that's where it stayed, and it's still that way today. So anyway, little story about that. If you get into trouble someday and your mom and dad get, take your video games away or whatever, try standing outside barefoot in the snow for a while and see how that works out for you. Most likely you'll probably get frostbite, lose your toes. Probably shouldn't do that. So might as well just do what they tell you. That's probably a better idea. Anyway, hey, finish reading section 1. Take the quiz and the test on Friday. I'm spreading things way out here. We're done with the section already, but I'm taking my time. We're going through this very slowly so I can spread the assignments out. I don't want to burden you guys with too much all at once. So, hey, have a great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.